What's up, everybody? This is Lance. I am the host of the Health and Real Estate Podcast. And today's guest is a powerhouse. His name is Rich Rector, and he is a MAPS leadership and recruiting coach. He is operating principal in multiple Keller Williams market centers, has over 32 years of sales and coaching experience, has recruited over 3,000 agents in his career, has trained more than 2,200 KW team leaders, and has led over 55,000 coaching sessions. I don't even know the math behind that, but that's a lot of coaching sessions. So, Rich, let's just start from the beginning. How did you get into real estate?
Yeah, I think my voice is permanently damaged or altered from all those coaching calls, but yes. I'm a second generation realtor. My mother was, as a top producing agent, even in her 80s now. But growing up as a kid, I got to grow up in a household where mom was a real estate agent, independent. And dad had the typical corporate job, and so when I went to college, had to pick a major, so I picked real estate finance, and all my buddies were going into the commercial side of the business, and I said, I'm gonna try the residential side, when I graduate, and give that a shot because I have somebody that can show me the ropes and somebody that's been really successful, so I'll give that a shot. And basically, right out of college, started selling houses and never looked back. So that's kind of how it all started. And that was, in, 1989, so dating myself, but yeah, so I've been in the business over 30 years.
That's amazing. I actually got my real estate license right after college too. I was majored in business and marketing, and my final semester of my senior year, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, "Oh, I just want to get into real estate." So never used my degree, never got a real job, just got into real estate right after college. Um, so yeah, you got your license right after, and then how long were you an agent for until you got into more of the
Yeah. And I think that what you said there about Rich Dad Poor Dad, I mean, you think about all the things that you learn in college, and now all my kids, growing through college and graduating college and different things. And I look at it and I'm like, gosh, the stuff that that we learned, not necessarily in the classroom in college, but you learned at college, like people skills or, these types of books and things that weren't really included in the curriculum
Mhm,
are the things that molded us or molded me, and sounds like yourself, into what we end up doing today.
mhm,
So yeah, so I out of college started out selling real estate, as I mentioned, did that for about 6 years, and then the owner of the company that I worked for knew that I had a background in being able to recruit people, and he wanted to grow his company here in Southern California. It was first team real estate, so he hired me to be his, recruiting director, career development director, and allowed me the autonomy to kind of build out my team of people that I, hired and trained and grew into, kind of a recruiting machine for this
mhm.
company, and we recruited about 300 people a year.
Wow.
So it was pretty exciting, and so I did that for roughly about another 6 years, and then what happened is Mike Ferry, who's a national coach, found out about that because I was right in his backyard, found out what I was doing on the recruiting side with those kind of
Mhm,
numbers, and said, "Hey, you know what? We can sell that." So basically, it brought me in, put together a whole curriculum of my recruiting systems and what we were doing and how I was able to get that done at that real estate company. And I started coaching and training real estate brokers across the country on recruiting systems and scripting and all the things that we had created there. So that's how that started, and did that for for the same thing about 5 or 6 years, and then one of my clients hired me to come build her real estate company in Arizona. And so went to Arizona, never had been there, and was the president of that company at a young age, and built that into from one office to five offices, and we were having a lot of success. And that was with Intero Real Estate, who ultimately got purchased by Berkshire Hathaway. And during that time is when the Great Recession hit, and the
Mhm.
owner of our company had a lot of land because he was also a developer. And if whoever knows about that time of the Great Recession, that was not the kind of business to be in. And so basically, that the company had to go out of business. And about that time, I had connected with Tony DeCello and Diana Kokoska, who were running MAPS coaching at Keller Williams, and basically said, Tony said, "Hey, you got to come over and check out this company because it's right up your alley, with recruiting and so forth, and the profit share program." And so his wife, who ran Maps, put me on stage at one of the national events, and he Q&A'd me, did an interview. And the next day, basically, I had a whole bunch of coaching clients, and I was a Maps coach for Keller Williams. And so I've been doing that for, gosh, probably 17, 18 years now. And so that's kind of how I started as a college graduate, to selling houses, to having an opportunity in leadership with recruiting, and then getting into the coaching business.
Awesome. Um, so what exactly is MAPS coaching for those that don't know?
It's the in-house coaching company for Keller Williams, and it's actually the largest coaching company in the industry in terms of the amount of people that are being coached. And we've got phenomenal coaches. There's probably 150, maybe 200 coaches that the company has, and a lot of people with huge track records. Coaching with MAPS, it's a qualifying process. So it's not like, you're ordained as a coach and here you go, and here's some clients. I mean, you have to go through, a curriculum, you have to have track record and all those sort of things. So there's some really great coaches there. And, and it's the in-house, coaching company for KW. So we're at all the events like family reunion, mega camp. We have a booth there. We put on mastermind events. We do a lot of things for the agents, and leaders in Keller Williams.
Awesome. And who is like the ideal candidate of an agent for MAPS coaching?
Well, really, not to sound cliche, but somebody that's coachable, right? Somebody that
Yeah.
wants to grow, somebody that wants to is okay being uncomfortable, and going through the process of getting better, and being okay with that, and can take that type of direction and support and help. And so that's really the ideal candidate. I mean, the clients, after doing over 55,000 coaching sessions and the thousands of people I've coached over the years, the people I love to work with most are people that really will take the coaching, and take the ideas, and take the suggestions, and implement them from week to week. So we have stuff to build on, as we go through our coaching sessions. I love to see my clients succeed. So that's the thing that's kept me, coaching for so long, is that I almost partner with my clients, and whatever their goal is or whatever their challenges are, I take them on as my own, and we just solve the problem and figure out what we need to do to win. And that's the part of coaching that I really like. So it's those kind of clients that are looking for that type of partnership, and that really want to, have something change in their world. And in my world now, I'm coaching leaders. So it's somebody that wants to really create profitability for their market center, somebody who really wants to, recruit a significant number of people, or a certain level of producers, those types of things, where we just really create strategies based on their individual markets, and challenges they have in those markets and so forth. And I love solving those problems and helping those people.
Awesome. So your kind of niche with the MAPS coaching is more so for team leaders or market center ownership on the recruiting, not just recruiting, but also profitability and all that.
Yeah, and as I've, grown in Keller Williams, there's been opportunities that have, come to me, and opportunities that I've seen in my coaching, working with leadership. And so now I work with regional directors, I work with operating principals like myself, and obviously team leaders, and anybody that wants to learn how to recruit is my specialty. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm all about recruiting because of Keller Williams profit share system. So my main thing is I mostly focus on new agents, but I'm starting to focus on producing agents now. But I have sponsored over 100 agents to KW. Right now, I think my profit share tree is like between 65 and 70 because I focus on new agents. So new agents, there's a lot of turnover. A lot of them are out of the business within a few years. But you're like a recruiting expert. So what are some like top recruiting strategies?
Well, really, coming from contribution, is really what you want to do. So, if you're somebody that's in leadership where that's your role is to recruit, you want to
Mhm.
get into relationship with the people and come from contribution. So that's you can do that in various ways, in leadership, but it's really a contact sport. So it's your success is determined by the amount of relationships that you can create. When you're an agent wanting to recruit like yourself, really it's about being a connector and an inviter. So can you connect the fellow agents to, the leadership, the team leader in your market center? Can you invite them to some of the great events
Mhm.
that we put on right at the offices and the training and so forth? So if you can really be a good connector and inviter, that is where we see the most success with agents because then you're not having to learn how to recruit, right? And be trained on how to do that. And trust me, that's what I do for a living. And it's not easy, even with the people that are getting paid to do that full time. So leverage what you're great at, which is being a realtor and being out in the field and talking to people where their defenses are down and asking questions, about how's their business, how's the market treating them, and they'll tell you everything you need to know and open the doors for opportunity for you to connect and invite.
Definitely. I'm so glad you said that because I teach about profit share. And some agents, they have a little misconception. They think they're actually doing the recruiting, like sitting down and, going over the benefits and everything at Keller Williams. Like, no, no, you're literally just providing value. You're inviting them to an event and you're connecting them with the team leader or leadership. And leadership goes over all that, the recruiting aspect, what the office offers. You just like you said, come from contribution. That's one of my favorite bold laws. Invite them to events, build that relationship, follow up, invite them or connect them with the team leader. That's like the easiest way to do it.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So yes, speaking of profit share, like what is your profit share tree like? Do you know your numbers or have you not looked in a while?
I haven't looked in a while, but I have a few hundred people,
Few hundred.
in my personal profit share tree. I've got, I primarily, let my leadership, my ALC, our team leaders, reap the rewards of that. However, I do have a few hundred people because I've connected, some big people to the company and other leaders to the company that ended up becoming parts of regions and things like that. So my profit tree is scattered all over the country, which is neat. One of the things that used to be a joke when Diana Kokoska and Tony would say is that when Rich came over to Keller Williams, he got sick. He threw up because he saw our profit share program because I had recruited over 3,000 real estate agents in my previous life, and if I had done that at Keller Williams, you know I'd be in a totally different situation, right? So that's just a kind of a standing joke. But No, I have people all over the country in my tree and a few hundred people for sure last time I checked. So profit share, is obviously a great value proposition for agents that are a company.
Absolutely. And you're doing it the KW way. Like you're within KW culture where you want your leaders and the agents to build their downline, their profit share tree. But you already planted the roots. You have, a couple hundred in your profit share tree. And you don't even have to do that anymore. Those, like, it's going to build itself. So I'm getting to that point now. I have like 40 or 50 in my first level, but now all of those people are starting to, I'm teaching them what I'm doing. So it's starting to build itself at this point. And that's the value behind it, just the compound effect and all that. So
Yeah.
excited about profit share in the future. Um, Another thing is speaking of KW culture, how you're doing it the right way. So I come from the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri, and KW was not my first brokerage. And so I was very blessed to be introduced to Keller Williams Chesterfield right outside of St. Louis, Missouri. And Mark King was the team leader of that office at the time. And I didn't know it. Well, no one really knew, but then he became president of KW for a little bit. But I thought all Keller Williams were like that and within culture. Most are. However, when I moved here to LA, I've heard LA does their own thing. It's like weird. The Keller Williams here, they don't follow the traditional systems and models, and they don't have that like KW culture. But what at your market centers, I noticed they do have that culture, and it reminds me of like the rest of the KWs. So, what do you accredit that to, and how do you like maintain the culture of KW?
I think that the reason that I guess we have great culture in my market centers, which I have 5 locations now in Southern California, is I've been a coach for 17, 18 years with KWs, and I have been going to all the events since day one. So I'm indoctrinated in the models and systems and around all the leadership. And, I'm at the events. So I'm around the culture all the time. Mo Anderson, I know her personally. I mean, I've been to the different regions and taught in different regions, and like you've seen different offices and so forth. So that's really all I know is, to help people succeed,
Mhm.
is really my mantra is help people reach their potential. And we have such great tools here and such a great culture and environment and leadership and all the different resources that why wouldn't you, right, bring those to the market center as value propositions so that agents can utilize those things to win. Profit share is a perfect example. And then teach people how to build their profit trees if that's what they want to do, right? Teach people, have training classes on our technology platforms on a regular basis. Have broker training classes every single week, right? Utilizing, the resources, going to the events, supporting the regional events, programs like Bold. You talked about Bold Laws. I mean, we have the best education and resources in the industry, and I'm not saying that because I'm with KW. I'm saying that because I was a coach for an
Mhm.
outside organization, coaching all the other brands, and there's nothing like what we have at KW. So why wouldn't you want to showcase that stuff when you're running an office?
Yeah, 100%. And also, to piggyback off the training at Keller Williams, it's the real deal. There was, what's it called? Training magazine. So they rate all the companies in the world on they do a list every year, the top 125 companies based off their training, not just real estate related, but all companies. And Keller Williams took the number one spot twice in that training magazine. And we actually were in the top 10 and won it so much they put Keller Williams in the training magazine hall of fame. So it's not like us are just claiming it, like it's other people are claiming it. And I work with a lot of new agents too. It's funny. Uh a lot of some other brokerages won't take on new agents because they know all the training that comes along with that and the headache and everything. So some other brokerages will actually send new agents to me. They're like, "Oh, Keller Williams has the best training. Go join them." So our training, we have the real deal here, but not just that. I want to get back to some of your market centers that you own with the culture. One thing that I really like that I think is lacking in LA that you have with your market centers is the community. Like you do a lot of community events within your market center. For instance, next week there's going to be a taco night at the Marina Del Rey location. Earlier this week, after the team meeting, there was a Tony Robbins training after the team meeting. I remember last summer at the Huntington Beach office, you guys did the bonfire at the beach, which was super fun. So just not just the real estate stuff, but then you include just like the social and the human and the relationship stuff, which I really love. So thank you so much for keeping that KW culture in LA.
Yeah, well, and that's, that's just part of, who we are. That's just part of my personality. That's part of our leadership personality that, we like to have fun, and we like to, we work hard, play hard, and network, and so we have a lot of, great not only educational events, but we have great social events. And we had a phenomenal holiday party. It was fun. I want to connect these all these offices together so that they can get to know each other, even though they're in different counties and different parts of LA as well. And it's been a lot of fun to do that at things like the bonfire and the holiday parties and the
Mhm.
things like that. So, because in LA, as you know, with traffic, it's tough to get everybody
Aw-
together. But we're really working hard on doing that.
Awesome. I appreciate it. So yeah, so you got into coaching and maps coaching and recruiting. And then how did you start in market center ownership?
Yeah. Well, the very first market center that I got, if you will, or had the opportunity with, was an opportunity where the regional director knew that I wanted to be an OP, operating principal. And so I looked at a market center, out of state, as an opportunity, and decided that wasn't the right opportunity for me. And then when the time was right, the regional director actually had a market center that they was struggling, and needed somebody they were going to turn into a business center, or they or just kind of let it go, and said, "Do you want this opportunity?" And I said, "Heck yeah." And so I was able to take that from 35 agents, and that market center was losing about $10,000 a month, and we turned that thing around in about 90 days, because I didn't like to have cash calls myself, since I was the only owner. And so we're able to turn that around, and stop the bleeding, and get into a great space, and get the right team in place and leadership, and kind of the rest was history there. And it's a great market center today with, over 225, agents, and been in the community for over a decade. And then what happened was, about 18 months ago, I had another opportunity in Northeast LA, where our market center was going to be shutting down, and got a call from the regional director and said, "Hey, are you interested in, seeing what you can do here, and, salvaging these agents, because they're going to be closing the doors." So I jumped in, and, was able to do that. And that's in the Eagle Rock location. And that's been a profitable operation and growing, great agents there. So that worked out, great as well, and great leadership that we're able to bring in with the team leader. And then the same thing happened earlier this year on the west side with Santa Monica and Marina Del Rey. Some challenges with that operation closing. They called me, and I said, I'm in," and had to do a lot of scrambling in a short amount of time. But we ended up, with 300 agents, and so now we got about 700 agents with the 5 different locations. And yeah, it's been an exciting time. Um, Backing up a little bit, so my Huntington Beach location, which is where I'm at today, that's actually where I live, got involved in that office when they were selling, when the leadership was, with the owners were all getting out of the business, getting selling that office. And I put together a team and we went in and took that office over. And that was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So
Wow. That's all. So the first one was Downey.
yeah, and Downey, yeah, that was the one we talked about, and what turnaround was losing 10,000 a month. And then Huntington Beach, okay, that I just had mentioned. We actually helped launch Huntington Beach about 10 years ago. And then some owners had taken it over. And then when they wanted to get out, I put together a team and we took that over about 5 years ago. And then the thing that happened with Northeast LA and our Eagle Rock location about 18 months ago. And then recently on the West Side with those two locations.
Definitely. And I also want to acknowledge like how quick you were to act with the Marina Del Rey and Santa Monica office, and how quickly you were able to get a another office space in Santa Monica. It was like lightning speed. I was like, wow. So it just shows like you step up, you stepped in, got the job done, and now the dust has started to settle and just starting to grow.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. So what's kind of your vision for all the market centers you own?
Well, to continue to build the culture, continue to bring value to the agents with additional tools and resources. And because I know that that's what works, and that's what makes us different. To your point, with the culture side, so, that's my goal, is just to continue to bring more value than other brands bring to the agents so they never want to leave, and help them, reach their potential and grow. I'm a coach, at heart, so I coach a lot of the top agents in our company, and I'm at all the meetings and trainings, and put in my 2 cents and send everybody a coaching tips every week. And so I'm real involved as an operating principal, and so I'm excited about that opportunity as our industry is continuing to change and evolve. At the end of the day, I think people want to be in an environment that's authentic, and where it's really a teamwork and win-win, where we're all battling together for the same goal. And that's really my philosophy, and it's worked up to this point, so I'm going to continue on with that.
Absolutely. And you say you still coach some of the top agents in the nation. What are some of the top agents doing in today's market that they're staying successful, that they're getting a ton of leads, nurturing them and closing them? Like what strategies are you seeing working in today's market?
Well, I'll answer that in two ways. One is the great agents, the top agents, always, have good foundation and the fundamentals of the business, the systems in the business, right? So, regardless of who you're talking to, their business has lead generation every day. It has
Mhm.
lead follow-up systems that are happening every single day, right? So they're always skill building at all levels with their teams and the people on their teams. So when you think about it, those are all the basic things that successful business people have in their businesses, right? So that's one answer. And then the other thing is, right now it's about social media. It's about AI. It's about connecting with your clients at a deep level and a personal level. Whoever wins the contact game and the relationship game is really going to be the winner in real estate. But you have to be purposeful. You have to have the right systems. You have to have the right messaging. And you have to be somebody that they want to listen to and they
Mhm.
want to follow, and that, has validity and credibility. And if you put together a good plan, you can get the data, you can get the information that people want. And we have all the technology platforms to deliver it. So it's just being focused on that, and delivering, what consumers want, in the new world that we're in, right? So that's probably, you know, it in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of other things in between, but that's really it in a nutshell, is having a good system, having a good plan, and being able to execute.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The foundation of lead generating and lead following up is just the lifeline of every real estate agent's business. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you're a MAPS coach, but I believe in the MREA, which is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book written by Gary Keller. I'm pretty sure the like perfect real estate schedule, daily schedule, is lead gen from like 9 to noon, eat your lunch, and then after lunch from 1 to 5 is that's when you're servicing your clients or going on appointments, listing presentations, and all that. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, that's that is your job description as a real estate agent, regardless if you're a mega producer or brand new, is you've got to generate leads because you got to have people to talk to. You got to generate clients. You need to go on appointments, right? Because nothing happens if you don't go meet with people. You need to negotiate contracts, right? You got to get pen to paper and be negotiating deals. You got to close the transactions. You got to provide great service so you can get repeat and referral business. And then you do that all over again. And there's things in between, but it's really time blocking those key activities on a daily basis. And that's how you're continuing to move the needle forward. The challenge we have in our industry, which is why we have such a high attrition rate, is that we're independent contractors. People come from their job, if you will, and then get a real estate license, and now they're an independent contractor, and nobody's controlling their time. Nobody's saying you got to be here at a certain time. You have to leave at a certain time. You have to do certain things. So most people fail in the business because they're not following a schedule. Nobody's
Mm.
trained them properly. They don't have the self-discipline to do what you need to do to succeed as an independent contractor. And that's one of the best things and worst things about our industry is that the best thing is you have freedom to do what you want and be entrepreneurial. The worst thing is most people don't know how to operate in that environment.
Absolutely. Yes, I work with a lot of new agents and help them get started. And what I've noticed is two things. A lot of people come from, regular jobs. So they're coming from that employee mindset. And in real estate, it's more of an entrepreneurial mindset. Like you're your own boss. There's no boss telling you when to show up and when to go home. There's no paycheck every 2 weeks. So a lot of people they struggle with that mindset shift from employee mindset to entrepreneurial mindset. And another thing is a lot of new agents are like, wait, what's leads or how do I get leads? Do you guys give us leads? It's like, no, you have to go out and like find your own leads. We teach you how to do it. There's hundreds of ways to lead generate and find like, two or three that fit your personality. But lead gen is the foundation. Many new agents don't know that. And they always think, because a lot of traditional brokerages, they preach like cold calling and door knocking, which that does work. But for instance, for me, it didn't work for me because I hate cold calling. So I always tell people like, you have to lead generate, but you don't have to cold call. Like you could do open houses every Saturday and Sunday. You could do social media content. You could do a podcast. Like there's hundreds of ways to do it. Just find 2 to 3 that fit your personality and do that every day.
Yep. I mean, your success is directly proportionate to the amount of people you talk to every day, whether that's all the different things that you just talked about, cold, warm, you know, using
Absolutely.
technology or whatever it may be. It's a contact sport, and that's always going to be the case. And then what you do with those contacts and the relationship you create with those people and the experience that you provide for them and so forth. So that's it in a nutshell. Simple but not easy.
Exactly. Simple, but not easy. Well, awesome. Is there anything else you want to add about your market centers or about MAPS coaching?
No, I think we covered it. It's just it's a great time to be in the business, right? I was on a call yesterday with our chief economist for KW that you see on stage at Family Reading and all that, and they see that we're at the bottom of the trough, so we're going
Wow.
in the upward trajectory for the market in the industry right now, which is great timing to be in real estate.
Yes, we survived. We made it.
Yes. So now it's time to get to work and create those relationships with people.
Awesome. And if anyone is in the Huntington Beach area, Westside LA, Downey area, Eagle Rock, um, reach out to Rich or myself. I will put all his info in the show notes for the podcast. And I think that is a wrap. I usually end every episode with a joke. So I'm doing a solo joke today. I love corny dad jokes. The cornier the better. But here we go. All right, Rich. Why do scuba divers always fall backwards into the water?
I don't know. Why do they do that, Lance?
Because if they fell forward, they'd fall into the boat.
That is very true. Very true. All right.
All right, I
Bum.
appreciate it, Rich.
Okay. Yes. Good to talk to you. If we can help you, we're in LA and Orange County in Southern California. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate the opportunity.